So, what struck me in your upbringing is that there was so you were trained as a speech pathologist, but you served. You had two experiences with an ingredient known as Sea Buckthorn Oil, but they're interesting life experiences that gave you epiphanies about the importance of skin and the ability to treat skin.
Right.
Can you tell what happened in those two experiences?
Well, the first exposure to sea buckthorn was when I was about 19, and my grandfather was diagnosed with a malignant melanoma, actually, somewhere at the base of his foot. And the surgeon said that once the surgery is completed, the only way for him to heal would be to use sea buckthorn oil on the wound. And unfortunately, it wasn't all that easy to obtain that oil. And
What is it? What is sea buckthorn?
Sea buckthorn oil comes from a sea buckthorn berry that grows in the wild, usually in the most severe climates like Siberian climate or in the regions of Tibet, Mongolia, China. And the more severe the climate, the more potent actually the oil of that berry. And because it thrives on deprivation, and the berry itself sits right on top of the bark. So there is not even a stem. Like if you picture a cherry, the cherry is connected to the tree with that thin, long stem. But in the sea buckthorn berry, the stem is absent. And the reason is for the berry to suck all the juices, all the minerals, all the life practically directly out of the bark itself, bypassing that stage, bypassing that, stem stage, and actually becoming more and more potent with the severity of the conditions that it lives in.
So most of us have never, American women particularly, have never heard of sea buckthorn oil. And was this something that was fairly common in St. Petersburg?
It was absolutely common in St. Petersburg. It doesn't mean that it was readily available. You had to go through all kinds of connections.
You had to know about it.
You had to know. You did know about the existence of sea buckthorn, but obtaining it was always
Did you have to know
challenge.
about its curative powers?
Yes, everybody knew it. It was a household knowledge. Everybody knew.
And so you understood this. This is one of those epiphanies you had when you were growing up, that this naturally growing, unusual, the more severe the elements, the better the berry, the better
exactly.
its potency for the skin.
Exactly.
So your grandfather has this element. What did you decide to do when you acted?
Well, my mom didn't take any chances in not having it readily available for post-surgical times for him. So when he did have surgery, of course, we prepared a dressing saturated with sea buckthorn oil, and we applied it to his wound. And God is my witness, he was healed. He was practically healed in no time, without a trace of a cut into his foot. So,
how old was he at the time?
He was 83.
83 years old. So one would think at that age that a severe skin damage might be not repairable. With cell breakdown, to the novice, one would think it's not easily repairable. But you put on this sea buckthorn oil. No divine miracle. It just happens to be a very powerful, unknown ingredient.
Yes.
To American women particularly.
Exactly.
And this is something that's central to your beauty philosophy. It's not the only thing, but it's central to your philosophy, which we will get into further. But this is a sort of one of your secret ingredients, what I actually call Marina's miracle. This is one of those things that you found out.
Yes, I did. And I did find out, unfortunately, through my own experience. And that was in the year 2000, precisely 2 hours before the celebration, getting ready to celebrate New Year with friends in Boston. Unfortunately, as I was in my girlfriend's bathroom, I leaned against an exposed hot pipe with my forearm and with my, elbow area, and I was left with horrific third-degree burns. So basically, the skin was left on the pipe itself. And
So you were in terrible pain.
I was in horrible pain. My girlfriend knew immediately what happened because she told her husband, who owns a huge construction company, that the pipes should have been insulated. They weren't, and thank God it was me.
Did you think you were going to be cosmetically disfigured?
I had to shower for 3 weeks with plastic wrapped around my arm, and it was horrific.
Did you think you were going to be permanently disfigured, so to speak?
I thought that that's where it was going, and then again, one phone call to my mom, and I said, "Mom, what do I do? Can you help?" And she says, "Well, you know what? I'm going to call all of my neighbors, and I'm going to see exactly what they will come up with." And she lives in the area where there are lots of old-timers, all, Russian immigrants and so forth. So she called me and she says, "Wouldn't you know, the same thing we've always known about, that Sea Buckthorn Oil, they all came up with the same answer. Sea Buckthorn, Sea Buckthorn, Sea Buckthorn." So the neighbor brought her the leftovers of the bottle that she still had.
This is from the Russian community now in the U.S.?
From the Russian community. That was 10 years ago.
Now
yes.
in the U.S., right?
Yes, and it was the bottle that they actually traveled with from
So they brought the secret
Russia.
with them.
Exactly. So they shared it with me. When I was done with that bottle, because I used it up pretty quickly, and I saw how quickly I was actually getting better, I started going to my neighborhood pharmacies, and I thought that this is common practice here. Sea Buckthorn is Sea Buckthorn, and the plant is universal, I thought. Little did I know that people actually gave me completely a blank stare, and they had no idea. I would say, "Would you by any chance have Hippothay oil?" So that's the Latin name for it. And they would say what? So I'd say, okay, Sea Buckthorn. Still the same totally blank stare. And again, I started calling around Russian pharmacies, Russian suppliers.
First of all, what did it do to your arm? What happened to your arm?
I would.
The skin is left on the hot
my
pipe.
skin, obviously,
You start to use the Sea Buckthorn.
And it was a fairly deep indentation in the arm itself, fairly long, about 3 inches here and about 2 inches here. And as I started using dressings with Sea Buckthorn oil, and I found a way of attaching it to the skin, and I would change it several times a day, the skin started to quickly heal up, and in a matter of, I would say a couple of weeks, or maybe 3 weeks, a month, because the depth of the wound was bad. It was really bad. It's not like it's just a minor burn with, say, a curling iron. It was a deep, a deep, how would you define it? Just a deep wound. Yeah, an indented wound. And so it needed to heal, and as a skincare specialist, I know that it starts to heal from the very bottom layers, and it goes straight across, so that takes time. But by the time, I think, the 3rd or 4th week rolled, I was good. And the skin was there. The skin was there, and there was no scar. There was a discoloration that obviously worked itself off over time, but, there's nothing. The skin is clear.
Let's see.
It's clear. It's
so nobody would ever know.
Nobody would ever know.